The dirty girl's fingers disappeared into Chisholm's ear canal, and Chief Obinna Okafor's entire world stopped breathing. His security men lunged forward, but the foreign doctor raised his hand sharply, eyes locked on procedure happening before them in the dusty village square. The homeless girl everyone called Kimi worked with impossible precision, her cracked lips moving in silent concentration as sweat dripped down her mud-streaked face. Then she pulled. A tiny object emerged between her trembling fingers, rolled tight and stained dark with old blood. The billionaire's daughter blinked once, twice, then suddenly jerked her head toward the sound of a distant car horn, her eyes going wide with terror and wonder. Chief Obinna felt his knees weaken as a little piece of plastic caught the sunlight. For 6 years, he had taken Chisholm to every specialist in Lagos, London, and New York. For 6 years, doctors had told him his daughter's deafness was genetic, incurable, a tragedy written into her DNA. He had hidden her from society, from business rivals, from the press that would have destroyed his political ambitions with headlines about his cursed bloodline. He had spent millions on treatments that went nowhere. And now this Bayford child, who smelled of sewage and wore rags, had just pulled out the reason his daughter couldn't hear. Someone had done this. Someone had stolen 6 years of his child's life. Someone had made him believe his only heir was broken. The foreign doctor, a pale man from Belgium who had come to inspect a charity hospital project, snatched the object from Kimi's hand with surgical gloves. His face went from curious to horrified in seconds. He turned the tiny rolled film under his penlight, then looked up at Chief with eyes that had seen too much. "This is medical-grade ceiling film," he said in a shaking voice that cut through the gathered crowd's whispers. "It's used in very specific procedures. Illegal procedures. Someone inserted this deep into her ear canal when she was an infant. It's been blocking sound transmission to her eardrum for years. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. This wasn't an accident. This was deliberate sabotage." The word hung in the air like poison. Sabotage. Chief Obinna's mind raced through faces, through years of trust and family dinners and people who had access to his newborn daughter. His wife, Adiz, had died giving birth to Chisholm. The nurses at the private hospital. His sister, Ngozi, who had helped care for the baby those first crucial months. His younger brother, Emeka, who stood to inherit everything if Chisholm was deemed unfit. His mother, who had whispered about curses and bad omens. His late wife's family, who had always resented his wealth. Someone in that circle had crippled his child. Someone had smiled at him every day while knowing the truth. Someone had let him suffer, let Chisholm suffer, and watched it all happen. Chisholm suddenly grabbed her father's expensive silk agbada, her small hands clutching the fabric as tears streamed down her face. "Papa," she whispered, and the sound of her voice, the first word she had ever truly spoken, shattered something deep in Chief Obinna's chest. The crowd gasped. The security men stepped back. Kimi collapsed to her knees, exhausted, and Chief Obinna Okafor, the billionaire who owned half of Lagos, who had been governors and senators to his will, realized with cold fury that someone in his own house had declared war on his bloodline. He would find them. He would make them pay. But first, he needed to know who else knew. Who else had kept this secret? Who else deserved to burn? If you think you know who sabotaged this innocent child, drop your guess in the comments right now, because what Chief discovers next will shock you. Don't go anywhere. 3 days after the discovery, Chief Obinna sat in his sprawling Ikoyi mansion, watching Chisholm laugh at the sound of birds singing outside her window. The audiologist had confirmed what the Belgian doctor suspected. Once the ceiling film was removed, Chisholm's hearing had begun recovering immediately. She would need therapy, yes, but she would hear. She would speak. She would live a normal life. The joy of that miracle was poisoned by the rage burning in Chief's chest. He had called every family member to the house under the pretense of celebrating Chisholm's sudden healing. They would arrive tonight, and one of them was a monster wearing a loving smile. He stood and walked to his late wife's photograph on the wall, her beautiful face frozen in time. Adiz had been everything to him, intelligent, kind, and fiercely protective of their unborn child. She had fought complications during pregnancy, fought to get him an heir, and died moments after Chisholm was born. Chief had been destroyed by grief, barely functional those first months. He had relied on family to help, to support, to care for his newborn daughter while he drowned in loss. That vulnerability had been his mistake. Someone had seen an opportunity in his grief. Someone had walked into the hospital nursery and inserted that piece of plastic into his infant daughter's ear, sentencing her to a lifetime of silence and him to endless guilt. Chief's private investigator, a sharp-eyed man named Femi, entered the study with a thick folder. "I pulled the hospital records from 6 years ago," Femi said, his voice low and careful. "There were complications after the birth. Your wife hemorrhaged. The staff was focused on trying to save her. During that chaos, the baby was left in the nursery for approximately 4 to 5 minutes unsupervised. No cameras in that particular room. The hospital claimed it was for privacy reasons. Anyone could have entered during that window." Chief felt his jaw tighten. 4 to 5 minutes. That was all it took to destroy his daughter's life. Who had access to the maternity wing? He asked. Femi flipped through pages. Family members who signed in. Your sister Ngozi, your brother Emeka, your mother, and your late wife's younger brother, Chidi. All of them were in the building that night. The list felt like a knife twisting in Chief's gut. Ngozi had been his protector since childhood, the one who raised him after their father died. Emeka was reckless and jealous. Yes, but blood was blood. His mother was traditional and superstitious. But would she harm her own grandchild? And Chidi had always been resentful of Chief's success, always asking for money, always bitter. For suspects. For people he had trusted with everything. Chief dismissed Femi and poured himself a drink, his hand shaking with contained fury. Tonight, they would all gather for dinner. Tonight, he would watch their faces when he revealed the truth. And tonight, he would see who flinched, who lied, who already knew. As evening fell, the mansion filled with voices. Ngozi arrived first, her elegant wrapper and jewel immaculate as always, her smile warm as she kissed Chisholm's forehead. Emeka came next, loud and boisterous, bragging about a new business deal. Chief's mother, Mima Okafor, arrived with a prayer of beads and suspicious eyes, muttering about Thanksgiving and miracles. Chidi was last, his expensive suit ill-fitting on his thin frame, his smile not reaching his eyes. They gathered in the dining room, laughing and eating, celebrating Chisholm's miracle healing. And Chief Obinna watched them all like a hawk watching prey. Someone at this table had tried to destroy his legacy. Someone here was about to be exposed. But as dessert was served, Ngozi leaned close to Chief and whispered something that made his blood run cold. "I know what you're planning, brother, and you need to be very careful. Some secrets are more dangerous than you think." The truth is closer than Chief realizes, and it's about to tear his family apart. Hit that subscribe button, because next chapter will reveal the unthinkable. Chief Obinna's fork clattered against his plate, and the entire table went silent. Ngozi's whispered warning still echoed in his ears as he stood slowly, his imposing frame casting shadows across the mahogany dining table. He had planned to wait, to observe, to be strategic, but rage was a living thing inside him now, demanding release. 6 years ago, Chief began, his voice low and deadly calm, "My daughter was born deaf. Also I was told. 3 days ago, a homeless girl pulled a piece of medical plastic from Chisholm's ear, a piece that was deliberately placed there, by someone in this room." The silence that followed was suffocating. Emeka stopped chewing. Mima Okafor's hand froze on her wine glass. Chidi's eyes darted toward the door. Only Ngozi remained perfectly still, her expression unreadable. Chisholm sat at the children's table nearby, wearing noise-canceling headphones and watching cartoons on a tablet, oblivious to the bomb her father had just detonated. Chief circled the table slowly, like a prosecutor before a jury. The hospital records show 4 people had access to the nursery during the only window when someone could have done this. 4 people I trusted. 4 people sitting here tonight. He stopped behind Emeka's chair. His younger brother had always been jealous, always resentful that Chief inherited their father's business empire while Emeka got nothing but an allowance. Emeka had gambling debts, failing investments, and everything to gain if Chisholm was deemed unfit to inherit. "Where were you that night, Emeka?" Chief asked. His brother's face flushed dark. "Are you accusing me?" "Your own blood." "Answer the question," Chief said coldly. Emeka shoved his chair back and stood, his voice rising with indignation. "I was in the waiting room the whole time, grieving for Dees like everyone else. I love my sister-in-law. I would never hurt that child." His protest was too loud, too defensive. Chief moved on. He stopped next to Chidi, his late wife's younger brother. Chidi had always resented Chief's wealth, had always blamed him for Dee's death, claiming Chief had pushed her to get pregnant despite medical warnings. "You told me once that Chisholm should have died instead of a Dees," Chief said softly. "You said my obsession with having an heir killed your sister. Did you decide to punish my heir for being born?" Chidi stood up so fast his chair toppled backward. "That's insane. I said that in grief, in anger. I would never." He couldn't finish. His voice cracked. His hands trembled. Chief turned to his mother next. Mama Okafor was old school, traditional, superstitious. She had whispered for years about bad omens, about Chisholm being touched by spirits, about how the child's deafness was punishment for Chief's sins. "You said she was cursed. Mama, you said she brought shame to our name. Did you try to fix that shame yourself?" Mama Okafor stood with the slow dignity of a queen, her face carved from stone. "I am your mother. I carried you for 9 months. I raised you when your father died and left us with nothing. I built this family on my back. And you dare accuse me of harming my granddaughter." Her voice was ice. Her eyes were fire. And for the first time in his life, Chief Obinna wondered if his mother was capable of terrible things in the name of family honor. Finally, he turned to Ngozi, his sister, his protector, the woman who had sacrificed her own marriage to help raise him, who had been there every step of his rise to power. She sat perfectly composed, her hands folded in her lap, her eyes meeting his without fear. "You warned me earlier," Chief said quietly. "You said some secrets are dangerous." "What secrets, Ngozi?" She stood slowly, and everyone held their breath. "The secret that you're about to destroy this family over something you don't fully understand yet," she said calmly. "The secret that the person who hurt Chisholm isn't sitting at this table. And the secret that if you keep pushing, you'll find out truths that will break you." Chief felt the room spin. "What are you talking about?" Ngozi picked up her purse and walked toward the door, then paused and looked back. "The Belgian doctor who examined Chisholm? He didn't come here by accident. Someone paid him to be there. Someone wanted the truth to come out now, after 6 years. Ask yourself why, brother, and ask yourself who benefits from this family tearing itself apart tonight." She left, and Chief stood frozen as her words sank in. Someone had orchestrated the entire discovery. Someone had used the homeless girl, used the doctor, used his rage. And they were still moving pieces on the board. Everything Chief thought he knew just got flipped upside down. Comment below if you think Ngozi is protecting someone or hiding something worse. Chapter next is going to blow your mind. Don't miss it. Chief Obinna didn't sleep that night. He sat in his study until dawn, Ngozi's words looping through his mind like a curse. Someone had orchestrated the discovery. But why reveal the crime after 6 years? Why not keep Chisholm silent forever? The only answer that made sense was the one he didn't want to face. Someone needed him to know. Someone wanted him broken by the truth. By morning, he had made a decision that terrified him. He would go back to the village. Back to Kimi, the homeless girl who had somehow known what no specialist could find. Because if someone had paid the Belgian doctor to be there, they might have paid her too. And if she was part of the setup, she could lead him to whoever was pulling the strings. He found Kimi exactly where he had left her, sleeping under a torn tarpaulin near the market, her thin body curled against the morning cold. When Chief's car pulled up, she didn't run. She stood slowly, her eyes meeting his with a strange mixture of fear and resignation, like she had been expecting him. "You came back," she said simply. Chief stepped out, his designer shoes sinking into the mud. "Who paid you?" he asked, skipping all pretense. Kimi's face flickered with something. Surprise? Relief? Nobody paid me, sir. I just hear things. I've always heard things others can't. That's why people here call me crazy. Chief moved closer. The Belgian doctor. He arrived the same day you happened to examine my daughter. That's not coincidence. Kimi's eyes filled with tears. I swear on my life, sir, nobody paid me. But someone did send me a message. Chief's pulse quickened. What message? Kimi reached into a ragged pocket and pulled out a crumpled piece of paper, its edges burned. 3 days before you came to the village, a woman gave me this. She said if I saw a rich man with a small deaf girl, I should check the girl's ears. She said I would find something that didn't belong. She said it would save the girl's life. Then she left before I could ask questions. Chief snatched the paper. The handwriting was elegant, educated. It read, "The child silence is man-made. You have the gift to see what doctors miss. Use it when the time comes. This is your purpose." The note was unsigned, but Chief recognized the handwriting immediately. It was his late wife's handwriting. Adi's handwriting. His dead wife had written this note. The world tilted sideways. Chief stumbled backward, his mind fracturing. Adi's had been dead for 6 years. She had died on the operating table moments after Chisholm was born. He had watched them cover her body. He had buried her. He had mourned her. This was impossible. Where did the woman give you this? Chief demanded, his voice shaking. Kimi pointed toward the edge of the village, at the old church ruins. She wore all black. She had a scar on her neck. Hey. Kimi traced a line along her throat. She gave me the note and some money for food. Then she said something strange. She said, "Tell Chief Obinna that death is not always the end. Tell him Adiz is watching." Chief felt his legs give out. He sat down hard in the mud, his expensive suit ruined, his mind collapsing under the weight of impossible questions. He had seen his wife's body. He had buried her. But the handwriting was unmistakable. And Adiz had a scar on her neck from a childhood accident, a detail almost nobody knew. Either someone was playing an elaborate psychological game, using his grief against him, or something far more terrifying was happening. His wife had somehow survived. She had been alive all these years. And she had known about Chisholm's sabotage from the beginning. Chief looked at Kimi, his voice barely a whisper. Did she say anything else? The girl nodded slowly. She said, "The person who hurt your daughter is the person who told Chief I was dead. They needed me gone to get to the child. And now they will do anything to stop the truth from coming out. Even kill." Chief stood, his entire body shaking with rage and terror and hope. Someone had faked Adiz's death. Someone had stolen 6 years of his life with his wife. Someone had hurt his daughter. And that same someone was still in his house, still pretending to love him. Chief's reality just shattered into a million pieces, and the killer is closer than he thinks. Drop a comment if you believe Adiz is really alive. Next chapter will bring the betrayal to light. Stay tuned. Chief Obinna drove back to Lagos like a man possessed, Kimi sitting terrified in the back seat of his Mercedes. He had offered her money to leave, but she refused, saying the woman in black had told her to stay with Chief until everything was revealed. His hands gripped the steering wheel so hard his knuckles went pale. If Adiz was alive, someone had orchestrated the most elaborate deception he had ever encountered. And only one person had been with Adiz in her final moments, had pronounced her dead, had arranged everything afterward. Dr. Okoli, his family's longtime physician. The same doctor who had delivered Chisholm. The same doctor who had signed Adiz's death certificate. Chief's phone buzzed with a message from Femi. Found something. Dr. Okoli received 2 million naira deposit the day after your wife's death. Source unknown. He bought a new house in Abuja 1 month later. Chief's vision blurred with rage. Dr. Okoli had been at every family dinner, every holiday, every milestone. He had examined Chisholm countless times, had recommended specialists, had looked Chief in the eye and expressed sympathy for his genetic tragedy. The doctor had known. He had known everything. Chief made one call. "Femi, Bring Dr. Okoli to the warehouse in Apapa. I don't care how. Bring him now. Then he called his head of security. Lock down the mansion. Nobody leaves. I want everyone who was at dinner last night held there until I return. If anyone tries to run, stop them. I don't care who they are. By the time Chief reached the warehouse, a massive storage facility he owned near the port, Dr. Okoli was already there, tied to a chair, his face swollen from Feme's persuasion. Chief dismissed everyone except Feme and walked slowly toward the doctor. Dr. Okoli's eyes widened with terror. "Chief, please, there's been a mistake." Chief backhanded him so hard the chair nearly toppled. "Where's my wife?" he roared. The doctor sobbed, blood and spit running down his chin. "I don't know what you're talking about. Adiz died. I tried to save her." Chief grabbed the doctor's collar. "You received 2 million naira the day after you pronounced her dead. You signed a death certificate for a woman who is alive. Where is she?" Dr. Okoli's resistance crumbled like wet paper. "They made me do it. They said if I didn't help, they would destroy my medical license, ruin my family. I didn't want to, I swear." Chief felt ice flood his veins. "Who made you do it?" The doctor's face twisted with shame and fear. "Your sister, Ngozi. She came to me 3 months before Adiz gave birth. She said the pregnancy was going to kill your wife, that the baby would destroy everything you had built. She offered me money to make sure Adiz didn't survive the delivery, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't kill her, so I did something else." Chief released him, stepping back in horror. "What did you do?" Dr. Okoli's voice dropped to a broken whisper. "I faked her death. During the complications, when everyone was panicking, I administered a drug that stopped her heart temporarily, made it look like she died. Then I revived her in secret and took her to a private clinic I own. I told Ngozi that Adiz was dead, showed her the death certificate, took the money. But I kept your wife alive. I hid her. I saved her." Chief's mind spun. Ngozi, his sister, the woman who had raised him. She had tried to have Adiz killed. But why? Where's Adiz now? Chief demanded. "I kept her in the clinic for 3 months until she recovered. Then she insisted on leaving. She said she needed to disappear, to protect herself and Chisholm. She said if Ngozi knew she was alive, she would try again. So I helped her create a new identity. I gave her money, and she vanished. I haven't seen her since. I swear on my children's lives." Chief felt his world splitting apart. Ngozi had orchestrated everything. The attempted murder, the death certificate, the cover-up. But Dr. Okoli said Ngozi wanted Adiz dead before the baby was born. So who had sabotaged Chisholm's hearing after she was born? Unless there were 2 separate crimes. 2 separate betrayals. Chief pulled out his phone and called Feme. "Go to the mansion now. Arrest my sister. If she resists, use force." Then he turned back to Dr. Okoli. "If my wife is alive, why didn't she come back? Why did she let me suffer for 6 years?" The doctor's eyes filled with tears. Because she discovered who hurt Chisholm. And it wasn't Ngozi. It was someone Adiz loved. Someone she couldn't bear to expose. So she stayed hidden, watched from the shadows, and waited for the right moment to reveal everything. That moment is now, Chief. She's coming back. And when she does, the person who hurt your daughter will finally pay. Chief stood frozen as the warehouse lights flickered. Somewhere in Lagos, his wife was alive. Somewhere in his mansion, a killer waited. And somewhere in between, the truth was about to explode. The betrayal runs deeper than anyone imagined, and the final confrontation is coming. Comment your theory on who hurt Chisholm. Next chapter will bring justice and redemption. Don't miss a finale. Chief Obinna burst through the mansion doors to find chaos. Ngozi was screaming, being restrained by security guards. Emeka was demanding answers. Mama Okafor sat silently, her face carved from stone. And Chisholm stood at the top of the staircase, her small hand pointing at someone in the crowd. "That one," she said clearly, her newly recovered voice ringing through the marble foyer. That's a face from my dreams. The one who hurt me. Everyone turned to follow her finger. She was pointing at Chidi, Adi's younger brother. The room exploded. Chidi bolted for the door, but security tackled him to the ground. Chief moved like thunder, grabbing Chidi by the throat and slamming him against the wall. You did this to my daughter. Chidi struggled, his face purple. She deserved it. That child killed my sister. Adiz died giving birth to her. Chief tightened his grip. Adiz is alive, and you're going to tell me everything. Chidi's eyes went wide with shock and terror. That's impossible. I saw her body. I was there when... He stopped, realization dawning. The doctor, he tricked us. But it doesn't matter. That baby stole my sister from me. Adiz was all I had. When she got pregnant, I begged her not to risk it. The doctors warned her. But you wanted an heir so badly you didn't care if it killed her. So yes, I made sure that child would never inherit anything. I made sure she would be broken, just like you broke my family. Chief threw him to the ground. Femi appeared with police officers, and they dragged Chidi away, still screaming justifications. But Chief barely heard it, because standing in the doorway, backlit by the morning sun, was Adiz. She was thinner, older, her hair cut short, a scar visible on her neck. But she was alive. She was real. Tears streamed down Chief's face as he crossed the room. Adiz, he whispered, his voice breaking. She stepped forward, her own tears falling. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry I stayed away. But I had to protect her. I had to make sure Chidi was exposed before I came back. He threatened to finish what he started if I ever returned. They embraced, and Chief felt 6 years of grief and rage and loss pour out of him. Chisholm ran down the stairs and crashed into her parents, and for the first time in her life, she heard her mother's voice say, I love you, my baby. I never left you. I was always watching. The three of them stood there, a family reunited, as police sirens wailed outside. Ngozi was arrested that night for conspiracy to commit murder, though Adiz later testified that Ngozi had believed the death was real and had been manipulated by Chidi, who had paid Dr. Okoli separately without Ngozi's knowledge. The truth was complicated, layered with betrayals within betrayals. Emeka publicly apologized for his jealousy and distanced himself from the family business. Mema Okafor asked for forgiveness for her harsh words, claiming she had been trying to protect Chisholm from evil spirits she didn't understand were human. Dr. Okoli was given a reduced sentence for testifying against Chidi and for ultimately saving Adiz's life. Chidi received 15 years in prison for child abuse and attempted murder. The courts were brutal. The media was relentless. But Chief Obinna didn't care. He had his wife back. He had his daughter's laughter. He had the truth. 6 months later, Chief Obinna stood on the balcony of his mansion, watching Chisholm play in the garden below. She was learning to speak properly now, her voice growing stronger every day. She laughed at the sounds of birds and rain and music, marveling at a world she thought she would never experience. Adiz stood beside him, her hand in his. Do you regret it? He asked quietly, staying away for so long. She shook her head. I regret that it took so long to find the proof we needed to stop Chidi. But I don't regret protecting our daughter. I would do it again. Chief pulled her close. Down in the garden, Kimi, now enrolled in a private school, living in the guest house, and training to become an audiologist, taught Chisholm how to identify different bird calls. The homeless girl who heard things others couldn't had found her purpose. And the billionaire's daughter who had been silenced by hatred had found her voice. Chief Obinna had learned that wealth meant nothing without truth, that power was meaningless without family, and that sometimes the greatest betrayals came from those closest to your heart. But he had also learned that love could survive death itself, that justice could emerge from darkness, and that broken things could be healed if you fought hard enough. As the sun set over Lagos, casting gold across his empire, Chief Obinna whispered a prayer of gratitude, not to prophets or traditions, but to the homeless girl who had seen what everyone else had missed, and to the wife who had loved their daughter enough to become a ghost. This is why you never give up on the people you love. If this story touched your heart, smash that like button, Subscribe for more incredible true life stories, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. Justice prevails, love wins, and the truth always comes to light. See you in the next one.